I mean, men are the primary ones who created the system and keep the system going.
No.
The women are just the actresses or the ones that are willing to make the content, but it's a supply and demand thing. If the men stopped demanding it, then would stop supplying it. I mean, it's basic economics here. It's a very profitable industry to be in precisely because men are wanting it. There's a huge demand. I mean, I hate to say it, but we have to look at the objective reality of how booming the sex industry is. And
I mean, that's true.
To stop blaming
that's incontrovertible.
Everybody and just look at why is this? Why?
Okay, I'm gonna grant this argument. I'm just gonna grant it for a second, and I'm gonna ask you something. Let's say that there's a huge amount of demand to have a bunch of sex slaves. Why would it be wrong that I go on and supply the demand if it's just demand and supply?
It's honestly, if you look at it from the level of just objective species provision,
would be perfectly
fine. I don't necessarily think there's anything wrong with it. The problem inherently becomes
you had a big problem with it earlier when you were talking about what happened to you. So it's not wait a second. So is it okay when other people become sex slaves, but not okay when you did? Because that's kind of what
are we talking about? Are we talking about non-consenting sex slaves?
If it's supply and demand, and the demand is sex slaves, regardless of consent. You just said if you see nothing wrong with that. After you complain,
I do see something wrong with that.
Okay, good, because earlier, you were talking about this generational trauma and your horrific trauma that had to be cured with your head in a toilet and something else going on back door. Okay, but now
you talked about it earlier where a lot of people are not conceptualizing their position in society as anything traumatic. They're just accepting it. So you have to understand that there will always be people that are just like, well, it's a good way to make money and my family out of poverty.
Okay, so maybe I'm traumatized by the idea.
There's always there's not always gonna be those people, but for right now, there is a massive amount of women who have found an outlet, a way to have at-home businesses that are very profitable, and they have simply done what men have done all along and just done it. They just went with it. So
there's been a lot of cartels.
So then it's their very profitable. Wait a second.
There's been a lot of cartels that have found a way to provide a lot of trafficking, in which they just give a lot of value to the people that want it.
Exactly. They're becoming more valuable, and they just don't. They're becoming more valuable, and so therefore they don't mind what's happening to them. It's not actual trauma, and therefore it's okay in Desiree's world.
No, I'm not saying it's okay with me personally. I'm just saying that's the objective data.
So then why does supply and demand, why would supply and demand have anything to do with, listen, when it still comes down to what some women are doing on platforms like OF is really no different. When you break
Beth, how are you tying in supply and demand to consent? I'm confused on that point.
Because that was the question Emma asked, is if sex slaves are in demand, and like she said, the prawn industry is about supply and demand.
No difference
and therefore
a wife inherently is a sex slave. I mean,
no, she's not. Okay. That is disgusting.
Okay.
What is wrong?
That is okay. No, but I want to hear Beth. Beth, I want to hear what because I don't understand how supply and demand.
Okay.
You could have a demand. There could be a demand for like
chocolate,
child inappropriate material. That doesn't mean it should be fulfilled, right? Like just because you have a demand, that doesn't mean it's moral. It doesn't mean it's consensual.
What I'm saying.
Wait, I can explain you.
I agree with you.
I can explain this to you.
Said because supply and demand, therefore prawn. Okay. Emmett asked if sex slaves were supply and demand. Is there? And she said she saw nothing wrong with that. That's why I asked.
Wait.
Maybe
I misheard. Because my thought is I thought Desiree was saying that with pornography, obviously the supply and demand is a very real thing. But I didn't hear Desiree say that. Therefore, sex slaves is an okay thing.
Okay.
Emmett, please explain.
Let me explain this so you don't straw man it, because I don't know why you have today you had like the page of the steel man on your end. So we were talking about why the industry, the OnlyFans industry was a good industry, and she said that the reason why is because it fulfilled a demand of the public. And then I said, okay, I agree with all of your argument. I'm going to grant the argument that it is good because you're providing a service. But if that is the case, and there is a huge amount of demand for sex trafficking, at what point would it be wrong? And then she agreed with me that confluence. I'm not done. Okay. And she agreed, okay, that if we're talking about supply and demand, that's the basis of the moral axiom, he would not have any problem with it.